do you create PELUVA?
I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've been starting businesses my whole life. And my main theme has been improving health, fitness, and people's lives in general through innovative products and services. When I started Primal Kitchen, my goal was to change the way the world eats by providing products that had objectively better ingredients, that tasted great, of course, and that solved the problem for discerning consumers of these products who were reading labels and clearly wanted something better for them. When I sold Primal Kitchen, I turned my attention immediately to an issue that has nagged me most of my life, and that is foot comfort, foot health, shoes, footwear, anything to do with the feet. Because as a former endurance athlete, I started noticing how important my feet were to my overall health when I started running distances in my teens. Throughout my career as a runner, throughout my career as a triathlete, throughout my research as a health researcher, I've been well aware that foot health is critical to overall health, and that our ability to connect with the ground and to get that sensation that every footfall should provide to the brain to tell us how to move and how to orient our body and the proprioception, that has become overlooked by almost the entire modern footwear industry. So in the name of improving speed and mechanics, the running shoe industry created these, thick, wide, cushioned shoes with rear foot motion control, forefoot stabilization, and all these buzzwords that never improved biomechanics, that never decreased injuries. Meanwhile, the athleisure shoe industry, the rest of in fashion, continued to make narrow, restrictive, pointy shoes that would bind your toes up and cause discomfort. I mean, 77% of people complain of foot problems. So I turn my attention to this issue, which is how do we optimize foot health? How do we create a shoe that is ideal for human performance, whether you're an athlete or whether you're just moving through life? How do we create a shoe that is the most comfortable shoe you've ever put on, but is also functional, helps your feet get stronger, your mobility increase, your range of motion, and looks stylish? And so that was really the impetus for starting PELUVA, was to solve that problem, and I think we have.
Tell me a bit about the design process.
So the design process really does call upon my 40 plus years experience as an athlete, as somebody who's depended on my feet and the health of my feet to get me through life. It involved decades of research. I mean, I've written books in the past on foot health, particularly on this sort of haptic sense that feet have, this ability that feet have to detect changes in the ground underneath and to send a signal immediately to the brain as to how to bend the ankle, flex the knee, torque the hip, squeeze the muscles of the glutes or the hamstrings to absorb the shock. All of these are critical to our moving through life, to our getting from one place to the next without pain, without discomfort, and in many cases with enjoyment. So I combined my own personal experience with the recognition that foot health is critical. Like, foot health is really the new sleep. And I think people are starting to become aware of this. And so this led us down a path of literally designing this shoe from the ground up. So we took the best elements of what had worked in some of the other arenas, whether it was the original five-toed shoe concept, whether it was the wide toe box minimalist shoe, certainly different new materials that have come along that maybe offer a little bit more cushioning than you need. When you have like 1.5 inches of cushioning, you don't need that much dampening. But when you have just a little bit of cushioning, which we have, new materials, new sort of high-tech materials to accomplish this. And we've put together an amazing shoe.
Now you're working with your son in this company, right? Tell me about that.
So my son is my co-founder in this business, having raised 2 children and always having kind of wanted one of them or both to join me in business. I got the opportunity with my son Kyle becoming a co-founder with this company, with PELUVA. He brings a whole new perspective. He's 29 years old, so he's and he's a great athlete, so he has sort of this this perspective of being attuned into the youth culture and to style, which is important for us right now. As an athlete, he hated running. I was a career runner, so we're now combining the two ends of the spectrum. He's more of a performance athlete, jumping and more of a power athlete, and I'm more of the long distance guy. So we've been offered this opportunity to collaborate to create what I would say is the ideal shoe that combines several generations worth of not just experience, but also innovative ideas and novel concepts.
What's the story behind the name PELUVA?
So PELUVA arose from an initial hurdle we had in starting the company, where the name Primal, which is sort of my brand throughout my history, was taken by somebody else. Somebody already had the trademark for Primal in clothing. So it was not available. So we had to come up with a word that encapsulated what it was that we were doing. And through a number of various language word searches, we came up with PELUVA, and it derives from Portuguese, the word for foot and the word for glove. So it is a foot glove, for sure.
Now, if someone's feet feel fine, why should they care about foot health?
If someone's feet already feel fine, that doesn't mean that there's not maybe long-term issues to be aware of. As I said, I think foot health is the new sleep. I think there has not been an awareness of foot health. I think sometimes, people go along in a certain pattern until things get bad. So they don't really recognize, like if you're on a diet path, right? You might not be eating well for a few years before you realize, oh my goodness, I don't feel that great. But it took a few years of this to accumulate to start to feel bad. I think with foot health, if your feet feel fine, that's great, but most people's feet don't. I mean, I think 77% of people report some sort of foot pain in their life, and a lot of it has to do with the shoes that they're wearing. So I would say that anybody who is concerned about comfort, number one, we wanted to make the most comfortable shoe possible, and I think we did. Function, if you want your toes to articulate. So when you are wearing any sort of shoe, the fact that it doesn't have 5 individual toe boxes means that every time your foot moves, every toe goes together with that movement. Well, there's a new sort of recognition that the big toe is really quite critical in overall foot health. And this big toe alignment, this ability for the big toe to do kind of its own thing when called upon, whether it's to improve the circulation because the big toe has this opportunity to adduct and pull out and allow circulation, rather than being always cramped into the next toe. That again, in the short term, you can say, well, my shoes are fine and I feel fine. I'm not going to suggest that you need to make a change, but if you have any sort of indication of early foot pain or foot discomfort, or your shoes are bothering you, I think PELUVA is a great approach, is a great tool to use in your arsenal, whether it's just in the gym and then you go about your day with your regular shoes, or whether it's living your life in the different styles of PELUVA.
How does PELUVA differ from other proposed solutions to the shoe issue?
So PELUVA differs in several different ways. I would say here's an example of a modern stylish shoe. This is a shoe that I've worn, I've tried to wear on several occasions. It is wide at the metatarsal, but then it comes together at the toe. So the fact that it's wide at the metatarsal doesn't really fix my problem. I'm still scrunching my big toe in and my pinky toe in from the other side. This shoe has what we call a drop from the heel to the toe. This one drops about from 1 inch inside to maybe a half an inch down below, and so I don't want to be walking around with a wedge under my foot all day long. So many minimalist shoe companies recognize this problem, and they make a wide toe box, and they make what they call a zero drop shoe. What we've done is we've taken it a step further, and we have a zero drop shoe, but because of the 5 toes, this is foot shaped. So even though it's wide at the metatarsal, it actually gets a little bit wider at the end of the toes because you don't want to scrunch the toes together. So we have acknowledged that this is a foot-shaped shoe, and of course we've provided an attractive upper for it. We've put a little bit more cushion underneath than you would see in a typical truly minimalist five-toed shoe. This is a minimalist shoe, but there's nothing about the term minimalist that means it needs to be thin. It's really minimalist for us means what's the least amount of shoe that we can provide that gives your foot the opportunity to optimize its range of motion, its strength, and all of the haptic inputs, all of the sensory inputs that you would get walking on ground. So we've really taken kind of the best elements of a five-toed shoe, of a racing flat, of a attractive upper, and combine them into a very functional, comfortable, stylish shoe.
So why would a quote-unquote normal person wear these? Aren't barefoot shoes just for extreme people?
It seems like barefoot shoes came out of they derived out of the early 2000s and then got popularized by a book called Born to Run, because a lot of people understand that we were born to be barefoot. I mean, we weren't born with shoes on. We're born to walk around this earth using our feet as these incredible organs that they are to feel the ground underneath, to feel the surface, to inform the brain how to move. And so minimalist shoes came around as a sort of a recognition that we can't always be barefoot. I mean, look, the surfaces that we walk on all the time are typically pavement, concrete, tile, marble, glass, hardwood floors. We don't really walk on natural surfaces anymore. And with that in mind, it's really impractical to go barefoot. So the minimalist footwear movement arose in acknowledgement of the fact that we have to wear something. I think what happened was early on, the minimalists became too minimalist and became too thin. And so you saw shoes that had like 2 or 3 millimeters total of sole underneath. And I embraced that concept and I wore those shoes, but every time I would go on a walk longer than 2 miles, I would get a bone bruise. I'd get some sort of metatarsal issue or my heel would hurt because that's not enough cushion to be navigating an urban jungle, if you will, with minimalist shoes. So the pendulum has swung, and then it swung all the way back to maximal shoes. And so eventually people say, well, if those are so thin that you're going to maybe hurt your feet if you spend too much time in them, maybe we need to be in Bosu balls for your feet. And so maximal shoes came on the scene. Those are even worse. Those are horrible for your feet. I mean, maximal shoes, in my estimation, are a joke. They're sold in the name of comfort. Like, try these on in the store, walk up and down the store aisles a couple of times. Oh, they feel like pillows and cushions. Great. But really, if you spend much time walking in maximal shoes or any kind of footwear that has more than, say, an inch of cushioning in it, it ultimately is going to affect from your ankles up, depending on your weakest link. It could be your calves, it could be your quads, it could be your lower back. It's going to be difficult to walk in these. I have some of the more avant-garde, new, hip campus casuals that are sold in the name of athleisure footwear. I've tried to walk a mile or 2 in them, and every time I do that, I get lower back problems, or my knees, for some reason, my otherwise strong knees start to go, no, you can't do this. So there's a place for a minimalist shoe that is cushioned just enough to offset the unnatural surfaces that we walk on, that's wide enough to let the foot feel its comfort range, that has individual toe boxes that can articulate up and down and change with the terrain, and that looks stylish enough that you can wear it anywhere, virtually anywhere you would go, without feeling self-conscious.
So these aren't just for athletes?
Oh, no. These are for everyone. I think anyone who wears shoes would be well served by owning at least one pair of PELUVAs. We talk about foot health in general, but specifically if you're going to the gym and you're going to be doing lunges or squats, or say you're going to be walking on a Stairmaster or stair climber, or say you're going to be even cycling in the gym, using more of the small muscles of your feet by putting on PELUVAs to do that will improve your foot strength, your foot health. Ultimately, we're talking about improving balance because your biomechanics are more aligned. Your entire kinetic chain starts from the floor up through your head, rather than bypassing all that information with thick restrictive cushioned shoes, and then having all that information kind of have to start from your ankles up and have your body trying to figure out which way do I bend now, because there's no information about the exact surface underneath me coming into my brain to tell me how to move through life.
So what's with the toes though? Why would I want toe shoes?
The thing about toe shoes is the toes are so critical to our sensory input to the feet. The ability of the toe to articulate and move and change with every footfall, and to recognize a pebble underneath or a root underneath or a stair or a shift in a curb from a sidewalk to not being on a sidewalk. All of this is important information that gets bypassed in just a regular single toe box or single wide shoe. So the toe part of this is the most important part of what we do, what we call the toe splay, and giving each toe its ability to articulate and to move and to get stronger independently. We are now seeing a lot of research about big toe alignment and the fact that the big toe should really not be jammed into a shoe the way it is in most shoes, but should have its own slot here. So that's the essence of the PELUVA, is this five-toed concept that is shaped like an actual real foot and allows the foot to optimize its movement as we go through life.
So how do I know which shoe, which model and fit is right for me?
Well, so we make several different models, and the one I'm wearing right now, these are the Strand model, and this is the one that I would work out in the gym. This is the one that I would go on a long hike with. I mean, I have a friend who did a 9-hour hike in the San Jacinto Mountains outside of Palm Springs last week. A 9-hour hike with these, no socks, just these, and was passing guys wearing thick, hiking boots. On the other hand, this is a work shoe. This is our Napa. This is a leather lace-up. I can wear this in the workplace. I can wear this literally to formal events, and no one will even notice that it has 5 toes. It's a great-looking shoe. This is the Miami. This is a loafer. This is a casual shoe. I go out to dinner around Miami with this. I'll go to parties and things. I have a version of these that I wear just kicking around the house. The white ones I wear with down to the beach or down to the pool. We make different colors, and so in the Strand, this is the blue Strand, and I also wear it with jeans if I'm going out to a casual event. But it's a shoe that I would definitely work out in. A shoe that I could ride a bike in this. I can hike in this. So we're trying to be as versatile as possible, offering as many different shoe wearing occasions. We make a desert boot. We make a chukka type desert boot that a lot of people are wearing for going out occasions.
How are they supposed to fit? Are they supposed to feel tight, a little loose?
So the fit, obviously everybody's foot is slightly different, and we have a standard footbed. So the way we tell people to try on the PELUVAs is whatever your longest toe is, that should be touching the end of at least one of the toe boxes. And then that would determine the size. So if you have a longer second toe, you might have to size up a little bit, maybe a half size to get your second toe. And it's fine that it touches the end of the toe box. Unlike running shoes where your feet tend to get crammed together and then you get either blisters or you get issues with your toes getting jammed into the end of. Because these each have their own individual toe box, there's a comfort even when the one toe hits the end of the toe box. Now the fact that one toe hits the end and the others don't quite make it to the end, there's plenty of room in here for the toes, and so it's not like every toe has to go to the end. So we sort of say, okay, size it based on whatever the longest toe is that's hitting the end.
Now you talked a lot about performance and health. Can you talk a little bit about the sensory experience of wearing these shoes and walking around? Like, what's the experience like?
Well, the experience for me initially, when I set about to design my ideal shoe, I definitely wanted to feel the ground underneath me. And so I took a pair of these to Europe with me last summer, and I put 650 miles on them. hiking on all sorts of surfaces, from pavement and concrete to cobblestones to craggy rocks on difficult climbs and hikes to roots, all surfaces. And what I noticed was that I literally, a smile came to my face every time I put these on and went out for a walk. You know, I was a career runner, and so running was always how I got places, and I really didn't like walking. Even though I write about walking and, you know, in all of my articles and stuff, I didn't like walking that much. Finally, with these, I felt compelled to want to walk. Every time I put these on, I'm like, I feel the ground. It feels like every time I step on a pebble, it's a good thing. It feels like it's like a massage to my feet. Every time I step on a root, I feel the change in terrain, and I literally feel my brain kind of smiling, going, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to bend the ankle a little bit here. I have worn these playing ultimate frisbee on a football field that's been pockmarked with gopher holes. And where guys who will come to the field and wear cleats will twist an ankle in a gopher hole, with these on, when I step in you step in a hole, the brain immediately knows how to weight the foot, how to adjust for what is a substantial difference in the shape of the terrain or the tilt of the terrain from one step to the next. So the idea that you would that your brain would be made happy because every time you step on a different type of surface, it's doing what it's supposed to do. It's telling your body how to move. It's telling your biomechanics how to adjust to this. It's reinforcing that entire kinetic chain versus most shoes, which bypass all that information and then leave your body kind of guessing. God, do I bend my knee this way or that way, or how do I do that?
What about the lack of ankle support? I mean, isn't that important in the shoe?
It's really interesting that that the lack of ankle support is one of the benefits of wearing this shoe. And again, if you start by just walking around in it a lot, and most people who wear PELUVAs do that, they spend their day walking around. If you're just walking and you're not putting extra G-forces on your feet or on your ankles, over time your ankles get stronger. Your range of motion gets increased. Your ability to withstand a little bit of a twist improves. Versus when you wear ankle supportive shoes, hiking boots that come up to a quarter calf, or basketball shoes that are then this high off the ground. And then if you step the wrong way, if you're playing basketball and you land on someone's foot and your foot turns, your ankle has been encased. It hasn't been strengthened by the work that you've done, because it's never been called upon. It's always been sort of cast in this in this supportive shoe. That's, I think, when ankles tend to twist. So we'll tell people, work out, do your weight training in these, do your squats, do your lunges, do your stair climbing, ride the bike, hike, and all of the time that you spend wearing the PELUVAs is sort of passively training your feet without G-forces, without torque, without any sort of of the major issues that you would get if you said, okay, I'm just gonna put these on and I'm gonna go run 10 miles in the first day. Would not recommend that. It's not what these are designed for. These are designed to passively train your feet the entire day, so that when you do put on your actual performance shoes, your running shoes, your tennis shoes, your basketball shoes, your feet will be stronger, or will thank you for having done that.
So can you run and train in them?
You can run and train in these if you've spent enough time adapting. And we tell people, look, there's literally a warning. Don't run in these shoes until you've spent a lot of time adapting. Do not run in these shoes until you've strengthened the muscles of your feet. Don't run in these shoes until you've learned how to run as a forefoot striker, or at least a midfoot striker versus a heel striker. One of the issues with the early five-toed shoes that happened was people read a book called Born to Run, and they said, oh, this barefoot thing sounds cool, and if we're born to run and I want to run barefoot, maybe I'll go buy a pair of minimalist shoes. And they would go out and run 5 or 10 miles the first day and kind of trash their feet, because if you spent your whole running career as a heel striker, right, wearing thick, cushioned shoes, the shoes have allowed you to put in a lot of miles, but it hasn't really trained your feet for what a true human midfoot striker is supposed to do. When you wear minimalist shoes, it typically, because there's no heel cushion or very little heel cushion, you certainly wouldn't want a heel strike as a runner, it sort of forces you to run appropriately on your midfoot. But if you haven't done that for a while, it's a strain on your Achilles, on your calf, on your plantar fascia. You have to adapt to it. So the long answer is, yeah, I mean, you eventually can run in these, but we don't recommend it until you become adapted.
You mentioned changing running gait. Does it change the walking gait?
It doesn't change the walking gait quite so much, because it is designed, you know, when we run, the ideal human running gait is to be a midfoot striker, right, and not a heel striker. We're not supposed to be, but walking is all about heel striking. So walking is always heel toe, push off. Well, when you walk, but you don't have the G-forces because you're not bounding like you would be in running. So when you're walking, it should be a fairly gentle heel strike, and so we have just enough cushion in the heel to allow for that part of walking, that heel striking, and then enough cushioning under the metatarsal for the push off. So it's like the exact appropriate amount. As we say, it's like walking barefoot on a putting surface.
What's the future of PELUVA? Do you have any new products in mind? Or
so we have a full line of products right now, and we are always working on the next line. So the next season coming up, which would be Q4 of this year, maybe Q1 of next year, we've got some new colors, a couple of new designs for the women. We've got an entire sock line that is being integrated into the line. We're going to be very aggressive and excited about going after this new concept in foot health and changing the way the world looks at walking and foot health.